And welcome back to Monza, location for the penultimate sprint race of the 2016 FF2M season. And a quick recap of what happened in the feature race. It saw Caterina Caracciola take her second win of the season, her third in her FF1M career, closely followed by Väinö Kimmonen second and Mattia Alfonsi third, both Spaniels making the podium, but Kimmonen was not at all happy with Alfonsi after the race because, with 6 laps to go at the Variante Ascari, Alfonsi, running in second at the time, chose to defend the position from Väinö Kimmonen, and that got both of them into a bit of an incident. Kimmonen lost about 3 seconds, which was crucial because he ended up just 0.6 of a second behind race winner Caracciola. And with Kimmonen deep in a championship fight with Nolan Bryant and leader Alessandro Farina, Alfonsi kind of made it a bit awkward for him. Speaking of Farina, he had a difficult race marred by an incident on the first lap with Nicholas Latifi, a bit of a racing incident in the end, but ultimately Farina came away without any points in the feature race. As for Nolan Bryant, he'd started that race feature from pole position and finished 4th in the end. Could have been 3rd, but Alfonsi got him on the penultimate lap. And as for the rest of the top 8, well, they've been reversed for the sprint race, which means that Pierre Gasly will be starting from pole position ahead of Benjamin Pryor. Daniel Kvyat will be starting 3rd ahead of Esteban Ocon. 5th is Nolan Bryant, championship contender, ahead of Mattia Alfonsi. And then row 4 features Väinö Kimmonen and race winner Caterina Caracciola. Then the rest of the grid, as it was how it finished in the feature race. So Charlotte Plectrum starts 9th ahead of Artem Markelov, Nicholas Latifi 11th ahead of Alessandro the Flowerman Farina in 12th, Cristobal Alvarez finished 13th in the feature race, starts there ahead of Kamui Kobayashi, Pascal Wehrlein 15th ahead of Mason Taylor in 16th. Then it's Nikita Mazepin 17th ahead of Oliver Rowland in 18th, the other liquid target in 19th ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi in the GRM Junior. And in the back row, filled by Naoki Yamamoto and Louis Delatraz. All 22 cars finished in that feature race, which is quite impressive considering it's Monza and it does tend to breed a little bit of chaos. So the 5 lights are on, Gasly on the left, Pryor on the right, and the 5 lights go out. Who gets the best start from the front row? Looks like they're fairly evenly away, but Gasly holds the advantage as we go into the braking zone, into the first chicane. They were fairly well behaved in the feature race. Are they going to be well behaved in this occasion? There's lots of brake lockups and a bit of a traffic jam, but it's Benjamin Pryor who takes the lead from Pierre Gasly round the outside at the first apex, but Gasly's coming back very quickly at him. And can he outbrake the Welshman into the Roggia chicane? He certainly can, and Pierre Gasly takes the lead of the race. Now look at the tyres, because only 2 of the top 8 starters are on softs. One of them, crucially, is Nolan Bryant, and the other one being Mattia Alfonsi, so expect those 2 to be quite quick in this sprint race. But Bryant, he needs to stay out of chaos and score some decent points, possibly even a win, because he sits just 8 points behind Alessandro Farina. Kimmonen's a bit closer. He is, well, let's see Kvyat take Benjamin Pryor into the Ascari chicane, and he's done it, and Pryor and Alfonsi, former FF2M teammates, going side by side through the rest of the Ascari chicane. Now, that slowed up Alfonsi. Can Bryant do something about it? Well, he tried the wrong line, but that's let Caracciola through. And look at this, nearly 3 wide into the parabolica. That nearly ended disastrously, but ultimately Alfonsi hangs on to 4th place ahead of Caracciola, who's made a good start from 8th on the grid. And, well, that's interesting. Alfonsi's on the hard tyres, it's showing on the graphic there. Well, I have to double check that, but anyway, down the main straight, Caracciola up the inside into 4th place goes the Swiss driver. And further back, there's going to be some side-by-side action. And is there going to be contact? There certainly is. And the spinner, who is that? Is Luca Ghiotto in the liquid target. And people cutting the chicane. Now, Bryant, up the inside into the chicane, takes 5th place from Mattia Alfonsi. And that is the red ring soft tyres that Bryant is on. So he needs to get a move on, because he's made a poor start as Kimmonen, but he's running in 9th. I think that is, yes, 9th place behind Charlotte Plectrum. And points go down from 1st to 6th. Going to go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, plus a bonus point for fastest lap. So, Ocon and Plectrum won't be scoring points at this rate, but Ocon's going to try and take 6th place off of Alfonsi, and Alfonsi runs off as Ocon a little bit, but now they're side by side through the rest of the chicane, and that's going to let Bryant off the hook. And further up, Kvyat's going to take the lead from Pierre Gasly into the Parabolica, and look at the tyres that Kvyat's on. He is on the soft tyres, so Kvyat looking quite good at this early stage of the race. Now, down the main straight, and that looking at Kinnunen making a move on somebody. It's Farina for 8th place, and Farina looking to make amends for that disastrous feature race, which saw his championship lead cut down to just 3 points from the flying Finn of Väinö Kinnunen, as we're on board with Farina's teammate Kamui Kobayashi going into the Roggia chicane, and further up Kinnunen taking 7th place from Matteo Alfonsi, who unsurprisingly was much more submissive, certainly after a bit of a bollocking from the Spaniel team boss. Now then, through the Lesmos, we are looking at that Gajera 2 of Kamui Kobayashi, or is it actually Farina? It's Farina. In 10th is Kobayashi, and in 11th it's Charlotte Plectrum. Now, back on board with Alfonsi. He's been passed by Kinnunen, and he's going to try and have a go back at his Finnish teammates. That is cheeky, and yesterday it was a bit petulant, but Alfonsi hopefully will have learnt his lesson. Now he's got Farina to deal with behind. And further up you can see the front runners heading into the Parabolica, 2 STVs and a Shake and Bake Junior. And look at this, Alfonsi retakes Kinnunen for 7th place going into the Parabolica. That's not going to please the Spaniel team boss too much, as Charlotte Plectrum has a look at... That is Kamui Kobayashi, he was challenging. Now, it's going to be 3 wide down the main straight as Kvyat sets the fastest lap of the race. Who is going to be in front of these 3 blue cars? Well, it's Farina, and look at that, the 2 Spaniels hitting each other. Well, grazing the back of Kinnunen's rear wing was Matteo Alfonsi there, and the main beneficiary of that, Alessandro Farina, takes both Spaniels down one straight. And Alfonsi's still not done. I think it may well be a graphical glitch that Alfonsi, because he was definitely running the hard tyres in the feature race, and he must be on the softs for this sprint race, although his colour of the tyre sidewalls does not suggest that. But I am fairly sure that Alfonsi is supposed to be on softs. He has taken Kinnunen for 8th place, and now Kinnunen coming under a bit of pressure from Charlotte Plectrum and somebody else. Now we switch further up to the 2 STV racing cars. Benjamin Pryor in 3rd place, ahead of feature race winner Caterina Caracciola, both on the hard tyres, so it's a fairly fair fight between these two, but Caterina Caracciola appears the quicker driver at this stage of the race. Now, she's going to try and pull away a little bit, and she needs to, because Nolan Bryant, here he comes. He's going to challenge Benjamin Pryor for 5th place as Kvyat sets another new fastest lap and extends the gap between himself and Pierre Gasly by a fair bit, actually. Now 2.7 seconds as Bryant gets up the inside of Pryor, nearly has a look at Caracciola into the Rettifilio chicane, and he's up into 4th place. New fastest lap for Cristobal Alvarez. Now, where did that come from? And it's worth mentioning Alvarez, but we'll mention him in a bit. A big collision between the Spaniel and Charlotte Plectrum, I think that is. I think it's Alfonsi and Plectrum. I should probably call him Charles Pic, but Charlotte Plectrum's a bit funnier. Now, Caracciola versus Bryant down the back straight, one of the back straights approaching the Ascari chicane, and here comes Bryant up the inside. Caracciola's not defending that too much, and through to 3rd goes Nolan Bryant, and if he starts to catch up to Gasly, which I'd expect him to do, because Bryant on the soft tyres, Gasly on the hards, then Bryant could well be closing up to Kinnunen and Farina in the championship, and that's going to make things very, very tasty when they head to the final meeting at Portimao. Now further back, Kinnunen's under pressure from Kamui Kobayashi. These two made contact with each other in the feature race. Kobayashi gave Kinnunen a little bit of a nudge going into the Ascari chicane at exactly the same time as when Farina and Latifi had their incident. And here's Alfonsi looking at Farina down the straight approaching the Rettifilio chicane up the inside, and Alfonsi takes that position away from Farina. That'll put him a bit more into the good books by taking a position off of the Gajera 2 driver. That very Gajera 2 driver that is leading the championship. Give him fewer opportunities to score points through the Lesmos, and we're on board with the Gajera 2 of, I think this must be Alessandro Farina, Let's keep a double check on this. Well, aggressive defence, that could well be Alfonsi's thing. Indeed it is. So, 2 Italians going at it for 7th place at the moment. And they need to sort themselves out because the front lot are getting away. And look further up, Pierre Gasly has indeed been caught up by Nolan Bryant going into the Parabolica. Meanwhile, also going into the Parabolica, Farina goes up the inside of Alfonsi, but not making that move stick. It's still Daniel Kvyat leading on lap 7, and Bryant's just taken 2nd. And in fact, the side-by-side as they go down the main straight, they were separated by just 0.02 of a second as they crossed the start-finish line. And P2 for Nolan Bryant, as Farina now at the inside of Alfonsi into the Rettifilio, and Alfonsi's going to have to give way because Farina needs some points if he's going to strengthen his championship lead, re-strengthen his championship lead for that matter. Now, Nolan Bryant has he just about cleared Pierre Gasly? Well, I think so. But Pierre Gasly now coming under pressure from Caracciola into the Ascari chicane, and Caracciola is going to take 3rd place off of the Frenchman. And there it goes, but now Gasly could get back into the slipstream, but I don't think he has done. So now Gasly in 4th place now, as up the inside into the Parabolica. Alfonsi and Farina continue their fierce scrap for 7th place, could be 6th because they're both catching up to Esteban Ocon for 6th place. And further up, Bryant took 0.7 of a second now to Daniel Kvyat, which is not enough if he's going to win this race. But still a P2 will be very useful as Farina goes up the inside of Alfonsi going into the chicane, the first chicane, and can he finally break free of the Spaniel driver? And further back, I think Kobayashi's gotten ahead of Väinö Kymmenen, so Kymmenen's not having a great race, certainly not compared to the feature race where he took that P2. Nearly a victory, but for that driver there, Mattia Alfonsi, who's coming back up the inside of Farina into the Roggia chicane, and it's cat and mouse between these two. And further back, what's happening? There's Cristobal Alvarez coming into play between the two Gajera 2s. Alfonsi's pulled away now from Farina, and now Farina's got to watch his rear view mirrors because he's got his teammate Väinö Kymmenen and Cristobal Alvarez, who could have gotten a podium in the feature race, which would have been a great result from where he started. He was way down the order. Let's see Kymmenen overtaking the Gajera 2 of Kobayashi for 9th. But Alfonsi got himself caught up in a late incident with Nolan Bryant and one other driver. Which one was it? It was Mattia Alfonsi. It was indeed, but Bryant wasn't really involved in any contact, he just got the inside of the pair of them, so really a collision between Alvarez, there he is overtaking the Kobayashi Gajera 2 car, and it was the collision between Alfonsi and Alvarez. And here comes Kobayashi back at the Uruguayan driver, up the inside, and retaking, I think that is 10th place for the Japanese driver. Who's he got in front of him? He's got Väinö Kymmenen back in front of him again. So I think Kymmenen overtook Kobayashi on the previous lap going into the Ascari. And now Kobayashi coming under pressure from Alvarez. Into the Roggia chicane. There's your championship leader Alessandro Farina. The good news for him is that Kymmenen is behind him. The bad news for him is that Nolan Bryant is in P2 and looking on course to take 5 points away from him, and if he does that, the top 3 will be separated by just 3 points. That's going to be exciting. And up the inside, Alfonsi's ahead of Esteban Ocon just about. Let's see what happens when they both hit the brakes into the Rettifilia chicane. That's P6 for Mattia Alfonsi. And now Ocon may well come under pressure from Alessandro Farina. Can Ocon actually stay in the slipstream of Mattia Alfonsi through the Curva Grande? He's trying to. He's getting a bit of a slipstream here. Alfonsi choosing to defend. Ocon not having much of that. Is there going to be contact between the two? Not quite. That was close racing between those two. And further up, Kvyat still leading ahead of Nolan Bryant. And Kvyat could well get his first win of the season. He doesn't have a win this season at the moment. So that'd be a nice little tonic for himself and the OLM Hulk team, who have been struggling a bit. I mean, with a lineup such as Charlotte Plectrum and Daniel Kvyat, the Plectrum and the Tornado, that seemed quite strong, but it just hadn't worked out for them at all, as into the Ascari chicane, nearly contact between, is that Farina and Ocon? It is indeed, and now Farina, this is his championship rival behind him. As further up, a battle for fourth starting to develop between Pierre Gasly and Benjamin Pryor. It won't happen into the Parabolica, but this one is happening into the Parabolica for Väinö Kymmänen, as he is side by side with Farina going through the Parabolica and the exit as well. And Farina just starting to pull away a little bit, as further up Benjamin Pryor is up the inside of Pierre Gasly into the first chicane, and Pryor is going to make it 2 STV Racings in the top 4. It's been a good meeting for STV with a win and 7th, and it could well be a 3rd and a 4th in the sprint race. And if they carry on like that, then they may well have an outside shot of taking 3rd in the championship from Shake and Bake Jr. But Bryant is performing very, very well as he's up in P2, but not as well as this driver here, Daniel Kvyat, as he goes into the Ascari chicane for the final time. Now just the back straight approaching the Parabolica to go. There is Bryant behind, so both of these drivers on soft tyres. Bryant, I'm sure, will have given it a good effort, but he needed quite a lot more laps and maybe a pit stop to help him to catch up to Kvyat and maybe pass him, but Kvyat has played this one perfectly because out of the Parabolica, and it's a victory for the OLM Hulk driver and Kvyat's first of the season. P2, and a very, very useful P2 for Nolan Bryant. And further back, what have we got? This is Alfonsi versus Pierre Gasly, a battle for 5th between these two. And this could help Spaniel enormously if he overtakes Gasly going into the Parabolica, because it took a massive chunk out of Gajera 2 in the previous race, and they're going to take a little bit more because Matteo Alfonsi, spurred on by his home crowd no doubt, takes P5 away from Pierre Gasly. Finishes just behind his former FF2M teammate Benjamin Pryor, who finishes 4th, Caterina Caracciola 3rd. So good points for STV. And further back, Esteban Ocon, Väinö Kymmänen, Alessandro Farina and Cristobal Alvarez complete the top 10, so no points for Kymmänen and Farina, but Alvarez does get a point for fastest lap, and in their battle against STV Racing, that could come useful if things go badly wrong for STV and Portimao, and things go well for Willows Jr. at Portimao. Once again, like in the feature race, all 22 cars finish, and as for the rest of them, Kobayashi, Giotto, Taylor, Markelov, Yamamoto, Latifi, Wehrlein, Mazepin, Plectrum, Delatraz, Roland and Fittipaldi. That's basically your order from 11th all the way down to 22nd. Alvarez's fastest lap, quite impressive considering he was on the hard tyres. Quite unusual. Kvyat, that's a graphic error. He was definitely, well, he could have been on the hards, but who knows. We know that Bryant was definitely on the softs for this particular race, and is showing Alfonsi on the softs. That could be correct, actually. There's a look at the championship, and as mentioned before, the top 3 separated by just 3 points, but it's Farina who holds a 3-point advantage over Kymmänen and Bryant, and Caterina Caracciola sits 4th in the Drivers' Championship. And as for the Teams' Championship, Gajera 2 hold 15 points over Spaniel, Shake and Bake and STV, could well do battle for 3rd in the final meeting at Portimao. And that final meeting, the championships will definitely be decided in the final round at Portimao. Could well be the feature race, could well be the sprint race, who knows. But it should be an exciting conclusion to what's been a very interesting FF2M season. So, we shall see you in Portimao for the final meeting.